free, like they used to. When I lay my burden down, praise your tree, like they used to. Since I laid my burden down. Let's stand with prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, everything. We continue to be with us, leading guide us and all that. Breathe families, sick children, children, all that. Just thank you. This church, this
Amen.
They are listening. God's promise to David. December 8th, 4, the lesson comes from 2 Samuel, 7th chapter, 4, 7. Key verse for David. Your house and your kingdom shall be made sure forever before you. Your throne shall be established forever. 2 Samuel, 7th chapter, 16th verse. For the 1 quarter, God continues to bless the king forever and ever. And the first unit, we study for this this unit study is Jesus, God's chosen king. We continue 5 lessons from the book of Luke, 2 Samuel, Luke, lesson 1 and 2 deal with key moments of the history of Jesus' ancestry. Study now the Christmas season and these lessons pertain to the ancestors of Jesus. He is that king that will reign forever. We study Samuel's message today. Okay, Charlie. Yes, sir. I mean, that's good.
I was saying, I was saying, going through.
Yeah, but I guess neither.
It was a new battery. Yeah, it just weather change.
New motor on
it. I'm telling you.
Couple more at home. I took off.
They said the thing gonna work. That's why it's cold.
I
got cold in this trip.
I was in the house do the same thing.
They broke on this head, so it's another great lesson and stuff, when you want to look like everything else. The other day with the Bible sometimes, you're dealing with prophecies and stuff, you talk about stuff like I got today, but it's intended for somewhere in the future. Even though David was defeated, a person who got some reward from, what being said and stuff, the intent was for somewhere later on, generation down the line and stuff, where Jesus would be fulfilled in all has been talked about and stuff, You look at this lesson and stuff, sometimes I thought it was strange, right in the text, under the Sunday book, he say, material prosperity, professional success can affect people's lives in many diverse ways, People sometimes they let, just how things going great places, you tend to forget about who it is to make all this possible. And it's easy and proper at one point in all our lives. I had to realize that sometimes, even though you may think you physically the one doing something and stuff, you let God and stuff, and you ain't okay. And that thing hit me. My grandma, she told me, say, sometimes with God not in the midst, sometimes you lose it all. And I said, oh, grandma, she said, baby, if it takes taking everything you got away from you for God to get your attention, you know what? God will do that too. That's one of them knock on wood, they been things, been there, done that and stuff, and that extra start over. So sometimes, you see that it is what it is and stuff, But if you give God his just due and stuff, and think about it. As Christians sometimes, we forget all about walking in reverence, paying homage, and let everything we do be a reflection of God. God has said stuff, not so much material stuff that we have accomplished, because when you look at it, everything we do, we have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And sometimes, even though you may start slow, you want to finish strong at the end, which means if I get beat all up in the middle, don't let the middle, dictate what happens to me at the end and stuff. About the power of gratitude and how God responds to it. Second, we see God's sense of humor and how the Lord uses it in a cross for the word. Right, we notice the traits that obviously change a most commendable that he happily submerged his will and plans under those of God. Sometimes in order to make things happen, sometimes people get inside this church, you could be a very strongly about point, but if your point is not one that's being, adhered to jumped all over by the majority, sometimes you have to back up or take a step back, like I like to say and stuff, to do what's best for the church, And it means sometimes you gotta back up so something else can get done and something that we need to have done can come through, That's something as a Christian, you have to look at and think about and stuff, David, that's one I laughed at this yesterday when I was reading, I laughed at it again, this morning when I was reading again. When you look at what happened, just give you a little backdrop, David, the time he had been, one came and stuff, he was, born, after he first started out, he wasn't getting Ark of the Covenant, right? And he also, he had in his mind and stuff, because he wanted to show God his gratitude and stuff, he wanted in his mind to build God's house, And the funny thing about, you go on to do something so bad and stuff, that you push ahead, boy, look fast forward, look, I ain't let nothing determine that stop. But, David, had to decide once the ark had arrived in Jerusalem and stuff, he took an assessment. He said, hey, I'm living in a Cedar Palace, boy, the finest thing in the whole city, looking good, living good and stuff. He said, but God ain't got nowhere to call his own and put his holy hour, And I guess, being a man faithful at this time to God in his thinking and stuff, David was ready to push forward and stuff. He wanted to be a God, a house. But the thing about it, when you want to do something and stuff, old folks used to say, before you make any major moves, before you do anything major, you got to pray about it and talk to the Lord first. So here was David and his enthusiasm and stuff. He ready to push forward his idea. Oh, it's a great idea. I think I can do it, brother. On it, if we just don't push forward. We got one thing. Him and Nathan both. They sat down and David presented his plans to Nathan. And then once he presented his plan to Nathan and stuff, Nathan, without really thinking about it, other than the fact it was a great idea, to him too, he just said, yeah, encourage, let's push forward. Funny thing happened when he had old things come on TV. Funny thing happened on the way to the farm, he showed this little mess all during the 60s and the 70s. The funny thing on the way to the farm. Funny thing happened on the way to one of the build a house for the Lord and stuff, Hey, they got stopped in midstream by a boy saying, I hear all your ideas, so you're talking, but did anybody consider, how about asking me before you done made all these plans and profit got enough that the king jumped the gun, but you jumped the gun right along with him, so because you didn't consult me. And the article coincided stuff. This was not so much disobedience on their part and stuff. It was just, how they put it, presumption. You presumed that it would be all right, but you didn't check. You didn't check with God. And at this point, God decided to let us know, say, it's kind of funny. Then he said, go tell my servant David, this is what the Lord said. Oh, you want to build me a house to dwell in? He said, I have not dwelled in the house from the day I brought the Israelites up out of Egypt to this day. I have been moving from place to place with the tent as my dwelling. Now, up front, what human being have I talked to say, I need a house? Say, you think I'm not content where I am? And that's how suddenly this lets you read this stuff. It struck me odd. God preferred, rather than being enclosed to a certain area, he enjoyed being around the presence of in and among them. So even though they were going from place to place all this time and stuff, he was still in the midst, and his Ark of the Covenant was still, stored in the tent. And for God, this was a good thing, And the thing about it is when David had all this stuff, and that's where the thing came in when God responded to him and stuff, it wasn't so much to, I guess, to punish him, it was more sort of a slap on the wrist here, you and Nathan both. First of all, y'all are trying to decide y'all want to try to thank for me and stuff, He said, but God had a kind of house that David decided to build was never high on God's list of priorities. To this point, the tabernacle, as described by God to Moses, continued early as the Bible. God was satisfied with where and how they was moving. The Ark of the Covenant around stuff, where and how the priest was going in to serve him, and they were serving the same function, but sometimes we want, you want better for your church and stuff sometimes. So, you can, I'll add my oldest granddaughter now, Garrett, when we turned 14. And now all of a sudden, the clothes that our mama been buying her all those years are not the clothes that she wanted to wear now. Her mother want to pick out her style of dress, but my granddaughter letting her know, Mama, that may be what she wanted to wear, but that ain't what I want to wear, When I step out these doors to go to school. We brought some shoes, and my daughter got mad and said, that's some old-fashioned, old mean-looking shoes you wear. Mom, that's what I want to wear, And say, you go to the store, I appreciate what you're buying, but I like to go with you, pick out, what I want for myself sometimes. And basically, God decided to be his people, he did not want to be set aloft in the magnificent sanctuary somewhere removed from the people. David and Nathan both missed that. God didn't need no cedar building. He didn't need to be enclosed, because God can be everywhere, at all times and stuff. Hey, even out in the open, he was still among his people, And I think David missed that reference. The thing about cedar. Cedar was probably top of the line for its construction, or wood wise and stuff. You know, it didn't come no better than cedar. You know, cedar was durable. It was something that looked good. It would last. It was resistant to insects and stuff. You know, it was something that because David had put it in the palace, he figured out it would be perfect. But you know, I look at through all of this and stuff. You know, from all this thing when, even though David got captured, it didn't stop him from collecting all of this stuff, you know, that his son eventually used later on and stuff, you know. And the thing about it is, when you want to do something for God and stuff, you know, you got a zeal, and you want to make it happen. You want to do something nice and stuff for the Lord and stuff. Sometimes, you know, you got to be patient enough to wait, you know. And sometimes I think that human beings, the last and the least thing that we want to do is to wait to do anything, you know. And see, David knows, Nathan is trying to realize what was being talked about was not something that was going to happen next week, next month, you know. It could be generations and hundred years down the road before this took fruition and stuff, you know. But it's kind of like us today and stuff. You know, that last God to put it through. So, you know, we kind of like that microwave generation. We want it to happen now. You know, we don't want to wait no 100 years. You know.
We made a point about even though David was a builder, he still got everything to wood. I mean, he prepared. And I think that's something we miss in this list. We can talk about, you know, David's zeal and his zeal for the Lord, his wanting to build the house, and the Lord not allowing him to build the house. But we glance over that he still prepared the house so that he just can allow David to build the house because it was David. He didn't want people, and this is to me my interpretation as we look at it, especially when he said there's too much blood on your hands, right? He didn't want people to say that his house was built off of blood, that his house was built off of people, you know, the scraps or the savages that they got from somebody else. So he allowed David to collect during times of peace, but he allowed his family member, his son, to do it. So we need to look at it as we may not be able to build the big house for for our family and all that, but we need to make provision for the generations to come. And that's what our ancestors did for us. They made provision because if you think about it, a lot of our generations are living on the land that our ancestors were sharecropping and all of that. They living in the houses that they had. And I was thinking to myself, what am I preparing for my kid? What am I prepared for my kid? What am I leaving for my kid?
And that's the one thing you're talking about. What legacy are you leaving? You know, what are you said there, you know, what you pointed out, you know, what kind of manuscript, or you leave it with and stuff, say, ain't nothing wrong with waiting. You know, I tell my oldest daughter this and stuff, you know, great with my younger daughter finally got the real. Old don't mean it ain't no good. Old meaning it's good to test the time. Now, if you got something that you put the maintenance in and you keep it up, you just see a drive and it's still get from point A to point B, all the cop supposed to do. Now, when you figure it all out, you know, you gotta learn, you say, now, you spend $60,000 to $70,000 for something. That stay, if you got one, say that's on the carport in the garage, more than you drive. By the time you drove it off the lot, it started to appreciate. Now, you could have came and got a car that was a year, 2 years, you know, old, you know, ain't brand new, but guess what? Still had a whole lot, another life left in it and stuff, save some money in turn, and sometimes, you know, when we look at things and stuff, it's not always about, I got to have the best.
Right.
If I'm gonna have it, it gotta be this. If I'm gonna do it, it gotta be that. It's all right. And thank God that ain't nothing wrong with being in the middle. I asked her one time, I said, why the middle, Grandma? She said, because you just came from down here. You made it up to here. See, if you're in the middle, that means you still got room for growth. But if you start out up here, and then everything fails, and you come all the way down to the bottom, you be down there. Get back up, So it's all right to be in the middle, cause you got something to be thankful for and look forward to, And sometimes we forget about that, because God never wanted a permanent structure for his dwelling place in Israel. That's long a grand house, God faithfulness to his people had always far exceeded their faithfulness to him. God wanted the people to have a home more than he wanted a house. He wanted Jerusalem to be that place where his people, during this time of rest. Hey, look, all the things David been known for was fighting, God allowed him to achieve those victories over his enemy and stuff. So, now that they got a position time where they could rest a little bit from all the fighting, he just keep the judge here where the judges was ruling and justice. So, Israelites was bad. This coming to something that David having something along during the time period where the Israelites was they wasn't fighting no more. They would have to look over their shoulder every day because God had done got rid of all of the enemies. So now they was at a peace. Even though surrounded, they was at a place where they could actually get the rest and stuff. And sometimes we forget about, when you're doing something, you have to be reminded. And that's what God went on to tell them. He started reminding them about everything he had done to that point. And the thing about I like Nathan and let David, even when they fell out and stuff, when he got on to talk to him about what he did with Bathsheba and Uriah, See, sometimes even Nathan learned. He was eager to support David when he wanted to build a house, but he wasn't so eager to let him slide out of his sin, out of transgression. He let him get away with nothing, And so God allowed David, in reflection, all the stuff how he had told him from among all his brothers, how he was the least. Wasn't nowhere in the vicinity. He out there with the sheep. I in the pastor, and all his brothers parading around, boy, looking good, and they sang out there, don't you have one more? Hey, you don't want him. He just little lad down there keeping the sheep, and all the brothers, that he was the one that God had chosen, to be the one to lead, do those things, the one that does it. Sometimes we forget about the serve of God, and reflect back on Jesus and stuff, he could say, into the world and stuff, that has been God's purpose, and all of the rich folks, eating the best food, married and all that stuff, but God did come to teach all the people who already had faith, So there was no suffering in them. They were living good. They was eating good, drinking good, partying, but it was the people who believed who was the God came to teach. That God had been to the nation of Israel. Also would he be with David, when he made his promise. Somebody tell me the promise God made to David. What was his promise?
One that he will establish a small church. That was I can see something and he did. But in this case, I would establish it as key. I don't think you made it from
First of all, don't make the name great.
Great.
All the way to make the name great. Because we like Abraham and all, the other patriarchs and stuff, And But he didn't stop at that stuff, you know. That's when he went on to tell us that, you know, I'm gonna make your legacy, your dynasty, you know, your seed. You know, they gonna, hey, you gonna be ruling forever.
So it's not gonna do it like he did Saul.
Oh, take it. You know what? And the thing about it is, let's put Solomon, you know, for a minute in perspective. Solomon noted for a lot of things, you know. You know, we have people talk all the time, you know, I grew up all my life, people basically saying Solomon basically the smartest man in the world and stuff, you know, all this wisdom, all that stuff, you know, but, you know, on the backside, you know, God said, they allowed for Solomon because Solomon, because all the lies he had and stuff, he started worshiping all the power of God. Yeah. See? So even the man that God, you know, allowed to build his house, you know, eventually had some flaws, you know, he did some things, you know, that God, you know, had to chastise him for. But he didn't destroy him. He didn't take him down. But he got his attention. And imagine how many times God get our attention about some of the stuff that we done that we want to overlook and try to want to cast to the side like we never did it and stuff, you know. One thing about this stuff, I've always admired the verse in the Bible say, to thy own self, you know, because you can't go around there pretending like you've always done everything right, you know, and you always been top of the line, and you always been in line and doing those things acceptable to God, because, you know, I understand all the sin comes short of the glory of God, because we all have that effect, you know. And when God said, now I will make your name like the names of the great men on earth, you know, that all the greatness that they achieved, all those military victories, all that stuff together, you know, was because of God. That God had his hand on them and stuff, you know, and God, you know, divine wisdom, inspiration, leading and guiding him through all this, you know, and saying, God, you know, let him know some stuff, you know, just like you was a great military leader, you was a great leader for the people and stuff, but you're not the same man that I want, like you said, God, to be the example of building my house.
And you want to be, and we have to realize too, all of us have a part to play in God's kingdom. I use social justice as a example. The alien church was really founded on social justice, right? And that is something that's different because Jesus provided social justice. But that doesn't mean every church is on the front line of the fight of social justice. Some churches are on the outskirts providing help for others. Some people are on the outskirts of helping others in the fight for social justice. So, you know, that's like military. You got the infantry, but you also got the financial people. So you have to realize that we might not have, when we look at David, the Lord commissioned David to get everything back in line. God commissioned David to be a great warrior. But he, not a builder. All right, so sometimes you got to realize what your role is to do your part.
And you talk about to make the city make time to do stuff, you know. You got some people like to stay behind the scenes. You got the philanthropists, you know, some generally, you know, give and stuff, you know, support issues and stuff, you know. And you got some people when always want to be out front. Had numerous discussions that I can count all my life started to be about. Somebody asked me one time, do you consider Jesse Jackson to be a preacher? I say, since that he never had a church, I don't see what that distracted him. I think he just had a different ministry. You know, his ministry was out front in public, you know, and it takes, everybody, but I don't think he was no preacher, I think.
He was a preacher, he just wasn't a pastor.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You don't, hey, get a man that's new, don't knock the man, you know, because had not, we had people like Jesse Jackson, you know? And I look at Andrew Young and all of them out there walking long before they get. You know, you can have a career, but that don't stop you from serving God. See, and like you say, God, I got a place for all of you, stuff, you know. And I was reading the commentary, they were talking about Christians living and so you. And, you know, faith for the law that, you know, sharing your faith even with your children was punishable by death. You know, see, we take for granted and stuff, you know, when, you know, after all of the years of slavery and stuff, you know, when we used to have to sneak away and steal the doctors, you know, to go somewhere to have a little crowd meeting and stuff, you know, now you got the opportunity to every day of your life, you know, be in somebody's church and stuff, and you take it for granted and stuff that it's no longer something that you need, you know, or something that you want. And the thing about it is, I am convinced of the fact that we can instill all of the stuff that was instilled in us that still won't make the kids want to be like us, you know, that every generation do things different, do different and stuff, you know. But the thing about this stuff is when you add it and stuff, you know, like with God, you know, God, he said that they was, I will provide a place for my people Israel and will plant them so that they can have a home of their own, no longer be disturbed. Wicked people will not oppress them anymore as they did at the beginning. You know, sometimes when you go through something, and the saying they come over and say, trials are not designed always to destroy you. Trials sometimes going through are designed to make you stronger and make you appreciate everything that you don't went through, you know, because if you have no appreciation, I sat down there yesterday and stuff, I looked at people and stuff, you know, and I was saying to myself, I say, D77, our generation, me and Brett born in them, because most of us were born in the 40s and the 50s. We say D77, everybody knew what you talking about. You ask a kid, what D77 mean to you? There's another day. You know, because we take it for granted. 1941, Pearl Harbor. And here we are in 2024. That seems like some of that ancient stuff way back there. That's something the kids they say, oh, that's something my great granddad, you know, was in that. And that's great, but you look at kids now and they say, what's so significant about December 7th? Huh? And you know, and because you know, people with the zeal of the thirst times and look, let me go Google this thing. What is December 7th? And then they started reading about the Arizona, about you know all them 400, 500 men or whatever still trapped, you know, couldn't get out they tomb, you know. And the only thing that they did was because they couldn't get them up, they just poured concrete all around the ship and made it a tomb. You know, sometimes we live in an area where people don't, you know, don't desire to have a lot of what's going on. He said, and have done so since, you know, when you stay somewhere, you want to be comfortable, you know. You want to be comfortable. You want to know that. I look at this church crowd and I can still remember as Ramon and Steve when he got there and stuff. New Bethel. No AC. No central heated air. Understand? Resident spot, no pews, old wood bridges that are set down there, you know, and if you don't have a pillar to set on for you, kind of catch it. And right here, a big old, and two of them. Right here, a big old wood burner, a hot button stove. The stuff right here. You know, with the little thing on the little bench.
Yeah.
This is what it is. That's what all the heat you had in here. We had a couple of it in it, but that was the only heat in here. It had the windows during the summer. They would let out on the little hinge, you know, push them out so the breeze would come in and stuff, you know. And the church would feel. The church was filled every Sunday, and everybody was still, hey, serving God. Well, look at him, put that AC in, put these soft pews in, and got rid of all the stuff, and guess what? You can't drag them in there and stuff, Sometimes you don't forget, And the thing about it is, because God said he was going to make David sing great and stuff, And that kind of like in reference. When he talked about David, he said, make him just like all other great men and stuff, First thing you start thinking about, Abraham. Leave your kid. Lord, what you sending me? Huh? Hey, just take everything you got and go. Hey, what you know?
Just go out.
Yeah, just go. And it takes a real trusting, believing man to just pick up everything you got and just go. And don't know where you're going, but you just going. And you look at David, all that stuff, you look at the children of Israel and stuff, all of that unnecessary journey they did in the wilderness and stuff. 40 years because of disobedience, 40 years because you just wouldn't listen, you had to do it your way. And then you get to the point of stuff that, hey, you even got so bad and you'll do it your way and stuff, you start whining about I want to can't, I'm saying, but you don't realize that you got something good to start with, and you got something that, like you say, guys, that somebody else started out with. They didn't have what you got now and stuff, And the thing about this stuff is, you don't have a desire to see what you have just fade away to nothing, when everybody just stop coming, And because sometimes, when you serve, hey, I've come to realize that serving God sometimes can be a very lonely job if you out there and you for real about what it is you're doing, how you're doing what, because it'll be a lot of times when nobody may not see the vision, that you have, may not see the vision for the church that the direction the church needs to be going in and stuff, Only thing they see is, well, I want this. I think we ought to do it like that, And sometimes, it's all right to want, And the thing about when he told they people make them crazy stuff, and he now put this in your seeds, your heirs, your sons, everybody that's related to you gonna come and the thing about, like I said, we sitting there talking last Sunday about Ruth. Even then, God already working this thing out and stuff, so that Boaz and Ruth, and then everybody, Jesus finally did it. Everybody was so miraculous and surprised that God fixed this thing after all them 42 generations. That it was Jesus, Mary, Ken on one side, and David and Joseph on the other side. Now tell me God wasn't just rolling stuff around that boat. No matter which way it went, Jesus was still connected today, by mother and father. So sometimes, even though we all know, and people get the debate all day long, and Joseph was another great man. I like Joseph. Somebody them Joseph, them Joseph in the Bible was something else for them. They went through something, but Joseph in the Jesus scenario, Joseph was a strong man, and he had a zeal for the Lord and stuff, and all of the stuff about the law told him, Mary was supposed to be stoned, and he had to sit there and you can imagine. And you know how today is. Right. Oh man, look at him. Hey man, what you gonna do, man? What you gonna do? And so sometimes doing what's right, sometimes supersede what's expected. And that's where God put his dealing with David and with Solomon, and with the children of Israel and stuff, God never gave up on them. Boy, it could have been just so easy to just say, hey, and I'm glad he didn't do a bunch of spirals on this stuff. He just wash his hands and say, look, hey, man, y'all ain't do the right stuff. You know, but he said, even though, you're not perfect, even though you're not 100%, you still, somebody that when the Lord declared to him that he would establish, God, this is you. Flip the switch on David. David so intent on building a house for God. God said, by the way, I'm gonna be in your house, where your descendants gonna rule forever.
Yep. And David was thinking it was David just thought it was gonna be a house, not a. I want to go back to say so. That's I got a question a little later, but when we talked about, I mentioned that how he was using David.
Yeah.
How that provided all the cedar and provided all of that. Howard didn't know Solomon. Howard had a relationship with David. And because he had a relationship with David, and he respected us, Howard was an Israelite. Howard believed in God and all that. But because he had a respect for David and the Israelites, he helped and provided everything to build which I also noticed that we had to make sure with this relationship for the generations to come after us. If we burn bridges now, it's going to be hard for them to prepare them, if they even prepare by then. And I always go back to the hat hill before. We don't know why they were used. But they still get along with each other. Because somebody just prepared the bridge.
And that's so important, because not only you have a current relationship with God, but it's also required that you have the same kind of loving relationship, with those believers. Sometimes, it's convenient, like people say, it's easy if you're a Christian to just like the people that's inside the church, But what about the people who don't purport to be Christian, See, they're the people that need the help and stuff, but we so apt to help the one, well, sister so-and-so needs some help and stuff. Sister so-and-so may have 2 friends out there who don't know nothing about Jesus and about the disease and stuff, But, and it's easy, and that's one thing I want to do. It's easy to get distracted and get away from what it is, you should be doing it and how you should be doing it and stuff, And one thing, that we tend to forget about stuff. Ain't nothing wrong with having dreams. Ain't nothing wrong with having dreams. You may start a dream, but you may not be one to think. Everybody talks about Dr. King, from his speech, 1963. So guess what? If Dr. King could see, I take a start from 2000, the year 2000 from 1963, Just take 37 years from the time when he said that, and you look at how stuff changed. I can still remember it had a gas festival. I left Florida State in 72 when he got a little job to work for 2.5 years. And I sat for like 75 to finish what I had started, so I left. I got back to Florida State in 1975, boy, look at him. I ain't recognize them people.
In the 3 years
They didn't even think. Hey, I ran into this boy was darker than the soles of my shoe. And what came out of his mouth was stop doing traffic. He said, oh, this is my friend John. I don't know why they act like they do. And I looked around and see who he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of looked at him and said, what's up, brother? He said, I don't know you. So it let me know right then and there that I was in a whole different situation. Sometimes, you got to be able to adjust. You got to be able to adjust and stuff. You can't let people distract and stop you from doing those things, that's important and stuff. Fast forward and stuff, say, God let us, when your days are over, you rest with your ancestors, I will raise up your offspring to seed you, your own flesh and blood, I will establish his kingdom. Say, God promises, only thing everybody understand, God promises always come with some conditions attached. If you do this, I'm gonna do that. If you do this, I'm gonna continue to support you, But sometimes we forget about, like they did, what the restraints was God put on us to try to keep us in line and stuff, And the thing about it is God never put a part when he make a promise that ain't fulfilled and stuff. And Jesus became the fulfillment of all that stuff that God had promised during the time of Moses, When he said, that he what he was going to do and how he was going to do it and stuff, and these promises, do fulfill and stuff, even though it was talking about in reference to Solomon, it was pointing all the time in the direction of Jesus. That what God was talking about, a kingdom that would last forever, would never be destroyed and stuff. It's the same principle that we live in on today. That we serving a God, and the Son who gonna last forever, who we trying to do all we can to get close to, And the thing about it, he said, and I like 14 kind of put it all in perspective. That I will be his father, he will be my son. When he does wrong, I will punish him with the rod wielded by men and flogging inflicted by human hands. Nobody said they're reading and stuff, envision Jesus getting whooped all night long, hung up on the cross, but it's already prophesied that human hands was going to do all this and stuff, And so sometimes when God made a promise, even though the promise applied first to Solomon and ultimately to Jesus, it clearly defined, what would be fulfilled when it comes to Jesus. Sometimes when we look at what it is and why we go through things and stuff, he said, "Well, my love will never be taken away from him as I took it away from Solomon, whom I removed from before you." So sometimes when God does a thing, he does it for a reason. And he does it in the kind of reason that will last and make everything better and stuff. And sometimes what we do and how we do it, it makes a difference. And the key phrase that they say is, I took it away from Solomon, who was Israel's first king. The people of Israel had longed to be like other nations, and have a king. Samuel was instrumental in shaping his leadership into a monarchy, but Saul, seeing the paranoia, doomed his kingdom. This pattern persisted up to lead into the Lord's rejection of Samuel. Same cannot be said of either David or Solomon. They was not a perfect man or king, but his heart was not the same as Solomon. So God chose him to establish a relationship of enduring love with David, where descendants of David and Solomon reigned after Israel was divided during Solomon's death, even after the judgment that, your house, your kingdom will endure forever. This verse will summarize God's promise to David and conclude God's word for the king. The house that came to establish, Christ, he is David's true heir. And who Jesus said in the church remains true, the gates of Hades will not overcome it. The promise is to David by God's grace. It is an unmerited gift given David despite his unworthiness. It is given to Israel despite its people's unworthiness. And ultimately, it's our humanity despite our unworthiness. So, what we have and what we got, it all started with David was hard to be held, but the Lord wanted to build a house for him. And the thing that we got to understand is stuff like David, we too have a role to build, and we too have our own thoughts and our own misgivings. That's it, brother.
Okay. Yes, everybody's offering. Yeah, I got tea. That's catch it. Yeah. Don't catch it. Mine catch it. that Bethel, you, yes, now, church school is open at, 40. Singing glory, glory, prayer, and the lesson for today was God's promise today, the 7th chapter, 17th verse. So we're present today for rest of this that. Jordan has, you know, the lesson today was that God's promise today. Very good lesson. What I saw, some of the things I saw, sometimes you have a good idea, but it's not God. You know, like I had a first time. You know, and sometimes you have a good idea and people won't follow it, but God has told you to talk to you. Yeah. And the majority of people may not be following it, but something that in the future later on they'll see. You know, I've seen that happen in this church too. Yeah, good ideas and wasn't accepted. Later on, people come and say, you know, I wish we'd have done that. We could have done our service. One thing. I know with Brother Bethel, Father, living when we were working on some things. And that property came a bill out there, well, bill, we kept asking for it, they would sell it. We kept praying about it and so on. And finally, never came over, told Brother Bethel, senior, first looked at it, and that to the ball. And the home, and the the time that we bought it all, you know, there, the generations, when David had this idea about building the church, jumped God had another plan. It wasn't that David was wrong. You know, he had a plan, wanted to do it, but God had another plan, a future plan. David didn't see that.
Yeah.
And we still haven't seen all of it. We haven't seen the end of it. So it's a good thing. And when you look at David, also we talk about David and God knew. He said in the scripture, David was a man after God on my heart, right? And so the scripture tells us, even in this lesson, you know, a little bit around. But anyway, it said, said in verse 14, said, I will be the father, he shall be my son. A son to me, and when he commit iniquity, I will punish him. God, such as mortal. So, by human being. So, you know, sometimes, even though David did these things, but God knew who he was. He knew his heart. He knew his heart. And so, although David committed these sins, God knew that who he was, but he would be punished. You know, the same thing with us. You know, God, and evidently, what I was thinking, that God knew David was human. He was human being. And he was all doing is do some things, just like we do. You know, he said, no, I'm not doing. And know it. Right, so you know, so but God knows that, and so God knew what David was, and he chose him. And that's the same thing that you can look at people around here, you know, sometimes you look down, people, oh, it's smoking dope, or they're doing this, they're out there, don't come to church. There's all these other things, but you know, people have good hearts, and you can find people anywhere that would do things for you and help you out, do things. And when you need a favor, I was telling somebody yesterday, the day before yesterday. I was telling her, I said, you know, favor is better than money. I said, you can't get paid for everything you do.
Right.
I said, if you need a favor sometime, I mean, money can't buy something. Can't buy it. I said, but if you do things people will remember. I mean, brother, Bill said a few minutes ago, that, you know, people, how people get, going your bridges, but I ain't going sometimes. And people have been, to help you that off, going your bridges, or to keep your mouth shut sometimes. I mean, you may be legally right, morally wrong, you may be. But I'm saying, but you know, sometimes you need a favor. Young man, I bet $1 for work. I was telling him, I was in high school, I said, I used to prefer you all the time. I said, you had a good mind, you could have been in college. I said, yeah, you could have gone to college, you got a good personality, a nice smile. I said, people like you, but I said, you know, he said, yeah, you know, I think about that sometimes, you know, but you look back on that, so you, sometimes you need a favor. And I remember my wife had cancer, and I was, she retired, and I was working, and I couldn't take her to, you know, I had to take off from work to go, and then my sister, she was taking chemo, and I was talking to a lady, she had to go up and drive, and she said, no, I'll take that, I'll take you, whatever, you don't have to worry about it. Whenever she needs to go, I'll take her. You know, we go over there, and she said, you remember that time my daughter got married, you did the pictures for the wedding, you didn't charge anything. And that was years ago. I had years ago. And you know, when I thought about that, I said, you know what, some of the things that people will do a favor, and when you need a favor, you can't get favor. And I said, so things like that, you have to teach them. And we are sometimes that we get punished by like Marlon Rose came up on his sometimes. But he said, but God will take care of you. God will not take my steadfast love from him as I took it from Saul, whom I put away for you. And one other thing I saw here, on page 16, talking about David had a clear view of who God was, his relationship with God, and what he could do to show his gratitude. And it says that, clarify your outlook on these matters. It said, consider keeping that God. You know, I thought, I said, you know, sometimes I said, that's a good thing. I need to start doing that. I said, because all was blessed, you know, I'm not talking about when he woke me up in the morning, you know, things like that, you know. I'm talking about things that God will do for you and bless you with. And I mean, I got so many blessings during the week. And after I read it, I was thinking about, you know, I'm start keeping a journal of just these blessings that I don't know, ordinary things that you don't even think about. Looking for something. I mean, I was looking for something yesterday, and when the utility house got up, I said, no, I said, you know, I need to pray about some things. I said, sometimes you just have to go. You know, I went back to the utility house, I prayed and went back to the prayer. And here it was sitting right by me, you know, I didn't see it. I said, oh, I said, it was standing right there. It was, I needed it, and I looked all over there. It wasn't there. I said, it was not there. I'm telling you, blessing. I get blessed. I get blessed. I get so many blessings every week. I mean, if you can just, things just come, and I, you know, sometimes people say I get scared because I know something going on. Yeah. Going on, so, but I got beyond way beyond that long time. But God will bless you intelligently. You don't even know it comes to you. And when you get the blessing, it comes to you so many times, you're willing to help you. Just help. And I know that for a fact. You know, and I encourage everybody to pray. This is a good lesson right here. Talking about David. David got blessed. We're being blessed. Yeah, right here from way back. Right? But that those are my that's up to you. It's
so much, you know, so much, you know, I thought about Hiram did it for David itself. But indulge me for a second. When we look at this lesson, we see David wanting to build God a house, build an ark, a house for the Lord, a house for the ark of the covenant to be in. And the Lord, through Nathan, asked a question. And he asked, have I ever had a house? Right? Have I ever told anybody I need a house? Everywhere since I've dwelled on this earth with man, I've been with man. I haven't had a house. Even when the ark was in bondage, even when the ark was in captivity, I was still with my people. All right. So do you think the Lord was trying to tell us something through David in 2020 when the doors of the church closed because of COVID? Lord said it was never about the church, because church doors open and close all the time. The building open and close all the time. I dwell with my people wherever they are. Right? Which is a scary thing if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Because God is dwelling with you. Wherever you're at, it's funny that brother on there said, you know, when we talk about that sin, some of us do premeditated sin. Right. Some of us, we thought about it all week. We said we would go, but we watched it in the season as you know, probably shouldn't say it, but I said Gaston County school system now during the classic weekend, they don't even have school no more. They made that a holiday because teachers was in home all week trying to figure out how they were going to call in for the 10 they were seeing it. Premeditated. But we got to realize that in all seriousness, through this lesson, God makes provisions and promises. And we should always, as I said in the lesson, we should always plan. We should always make plans for the future. But we've also got to have room for deviations in that plan. Because watch this, we can plan to go from here to Panama City. And we're going to go through Tyndall and all of that. But what happens when Tyndall or the road is blocked up, they got something there. Then you got to make a detour, all right? So we got to make have room for detours, and sometimes detours will happen. But what happens when God puts the detours in our lives, right? So we have to always, it is always good to plan. And some people have said, well, David was planning and God shut David's plan down. No, God didn't shut David's plan down. He just delayed the outcome of David's plan. Right. Because watch this, Hiram, I always go back to him. Hiram provided all the cedar and all of that, right? How do we know the cedar wasn't cedar yet when David wanted to build a house? The Lord said, the cedar I want hadn't been planted yet, so I need to put in Hiram's mind to plant that cedar so it'll grow strong enough for Solomon. So Jerusalem. And it watch it. And the guy said, get there too. Right? So the Lord, while we're thinking about it, the Lord said, yeah, David, that's a good idea, but I didn't ask you for it, but now since you brought it up, we're gonna get it. But I can't allow you to do it because now I got to make provisions for other stuff. So sometimes it's good for us to plan. And in that plan, have that conversation with the Lord. Cause you know one of our favorite songs, what a friend we have in Jesus. All I see is increase the bear. Oh, what a privilege it is to carry everything to the Lord. But it's that other verse that we always forget. Oh, what needless griefs and sins we bear. All because we don't carry everything to God in prayer.
And one of the questions that was, how can you know if God is getting free like your place, with your church, your building? You know, and I'm going to grandma and Lord, you got to have it. Everybody right there say, how do you know you going in the direction God wants you to go? God ain't checked it out. He told me yet what I'm doing ain't
Because he hadn't changed the way I'm going.
Because one thing about it, you ain't even going the way God wants you to go. God, He do this. And think what I'm saying is, God don't always have to just take you out and hurt you, you know. Look, God can just twist you a little bit enough and say, be flexible.
And I thought about that. How do we know? Because it hasn't been easy. If it's been easy, everybody's do it. You know, there'll be a church on every corner. Every church will be paid off right now. Every church will have a church that seats 3,000 people. Reason why? Because it hasn't been easy. It's been a struggle. People have doubted. People have said it couldn't be done. People have said you should do it. And every time they said it, you got down and out, and the Lord picked you up and allowed you to keep doing it. So how do I know? Because I had a conversation with him, and he said this is where it goes. So in the end, when we look at it, God's promises today. God will when He makes a promise, He makes a provision. And when He makes a provision, He's going to keep the promise. Mm-hmm. So we just got to walk in a provisional state. And sometimes it don't go the way we want it to go. Just like an election, that's why they have provisional ballots, because your ballot didn't go the way. So we just got to know that we got to trust in His plan. We make a plan, and then we take it to the architect for him to approve the plans. And that's the way you have to do it. And that's the way you have to do it. If you want plans, you got to take it to somebody and let them approve it, right? Because if you try to do it undercover, and somebody come and say you ain't got no permit for that, right? Somebody needs to look at it.
Right by the house. Red piece of paper on the say.
And when the Lord gives you that red paper to send it to house,
Page 16, closing prayer.
I got three.
Closing prayer. The other? Say prayer. Pray this prayer together. Gracious God,
Help me to see the wisdom and find the strength to merge my plans under your will. I know on occasions this can be hard, but I know your way is always the best way, and with your help, I can do it. In Jesus' name, amen.
you to read and benefit.
Even because school of growing growth. I will take it our priority to make it so. Every member of Christian, every Christian worker, every worker trained, so that the worker need not be ashamed. This we ask in Jesus' name.
Our church school benefits. We
have come, we have studied, we have learned. So till our next time together, study God's word, may His rich blessings abide with you, and may His grace be eternally yours. Amen. Amen. Let us go and seek Him.